Hey guys, it's me Arthur, and you are watching How to Draw Creepy Creatures. Now, this is going to be a follow-up to the Siren Head episode, where I'm going to show you guys how to ink it in, and how to fill in with copic markers. So I got a couple different colors that I'm going to use. Now, Siren Head is supposed to be mostly like brown, so he blends in with trees and stuff like that, but there's also going to be some like kind of orange and magenta tones in there. But let's start off by doing the inking. Now I'm using just a pretty standard black felt tip pen, just kind of the cheap ones that you can buy in a stationery store. You really don't need any like fancy pens for this type of work. Remember to pay a lot of attention to the ribs and the tendons. Cameo appearance by my shoulder. Pay a lot of attention to the fingers because you don't want to over ink them to the point where it gets blotchy and they lose some of their sharpness, so just be careful around those areas. Now let's erase some of those details. I'm using an eraser by a company called Ninja. They provide really good erasers for when you're doing ink drawings. Just so I let you see what colors I'm picking out. So because there's supposed to be like a slight brassiness to it, I'm going to start doing the shadowy areas with some kind of orangish, coppery brown. Once again, be careful around the fingers. You don't want them to look too blobby. Now I'm going to further shade it a little bit more with some darker like mustard brown. I got some like pinkish magenta here that I'm gonna just put in some of the darker areas, is that you don't want it to look pink, but you want like a suggestion of raw flesh. So kind of put the magenta color in the darker areas where it's kind of more noticed subliminally. Testing out some of the colors before I use them on a scrap piece of paper. Let's kind of start filling things in with a lighter yellow, but still want it to look kind of brownish, like we don't want it to be too yellow. Switch between your fine tip and your chisel tip depending on what areas you're doing. Now I'm going to be using a very pale shade of pink to kind of add some blotchy areas, almost like veins running under the skin. You want it to have a very sickly look, and you can achieve that by adding like uneven tones to the skin so that not everything's the same color. Yeah, some of the fingers are a little bit blobby, so we might need to go over that again with our fine tip black marker, but that's okay. Now remember that the speakers at the head are supposed to be more like metallic, since they're like metallic cones. So what we're going to do is that we're going to start with a light yellow, leaving some areas of white where the light is shining off, and then in the darker areas we're going to fill in some like medium brown to make them look very reflective, very coppery. Let's fill in some of those cables now. Let's kind of like get a sort of muddy, dirty pink color for the tongue and the inside of the mouth. And now let's get some very sort of light green to start with the trees. We're going to get a different couple shades of green to kind of make the trees stand out in certain areas. Yeah, pine trees are really fun to draw, which is why I decided to go for pine trees with this particular one. It's just very easy, and if you do it right, the effect looks very professional, even though you did hardly any work at all. When I draw pine trees, I kind of just sort of pretend that I'm drawing like a, you know, like a heartbeat monitor, kind of like that, except you just have it narrower and narrower at the top. Now I'm going to use a couple different shades of pale gray to start doing the sky, because I imagine like a very sort of pale winter sky where there's only a few clouds that are defined against the white, just like a very pale gray. You know, like that very unsettling sort of milky white sky that you see in the dead of winter. That's what I'm picturing. In fact, I'm actually using kind of like a light grayish brown for some areas, because Siren Head has a lot to do with like technology and pollution a little bit, so I like the idea of kind of making like there's smog in the background, kind of like you imagine that maybe he's in a wooded area where there's like a polluting factory around, something unsettling like that. Redefine some of the areas that might have gotten a little bit blobby. Alright, and that looks like it's about it. Like, share, and subscribe, you guys. If you have any questions or comments, just leave it in the comments. I'll be sure to get back to you. And my Instagram is Cthulhu is my homeboy with underscores instead of spaces. And anybody who finished the lesson of the show likes to show off your artwork, you just send it to me. As long as you give me your permission, I'll show off the show with your name so everybody knows that you did it. Thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.